The story begins in 1815. Aboard a French merchant ship, the captain becomes terminally ill. His condition is near death. To save his life, the ship's second mate, a brave and honest young man named Edmond, makes a difficult decision. He and some of his companions take the captain in a small boat to an island where he can be treated. They land on an island called Elba, the site where Napoleon, the former French emperor, was held captive. It was guarded by British soldiers to prevent Napoleon from escaping. When Edmond and his childhood friend Fernand land on the shore, the British guards attack them. But Napoleon arrives and saves them. The British were about to kill these men, believing them to be Napoleon's soldiers. However, Napoleon reveals that he does not know them. Napoleon even allows his doctor to treat the captain. But unfortunately, the captain's life is not saved. As Edmond is about to leave, Napoleon speaks to him privately. He gives Edmond a letter, saying it is a personal one to deliver to a friend living in Marseille. He also demands Edmond promise not to tell anyone about the letter. True to his word, Edmond agrees and does not mention it to his friend, unaware that his friend Fernand was secretly watching. When they return to Marseille, the owner of the ship, Danglars receives a complaint saying that Edmond had stopped the ship without permission on the island of Elba. When Edmond is questioned about this, he says that he simply wanted to save his captain's life at all costs. The ship's owner is so impressed by Edmond's bravery and loyalty that he appoints him as the new captain. Hearing this, Danglars, the man who is about to become captain, is devastated. Edmond is overjoyed and runs to tell his fiancée. They are deeply in love and want to get married soon. Edmond explains, "Now we don't have to wait another year because I am captain now, and we'll get married this year." They are overjoyed. At this point, we see their childhood friend, Fernand, also present. Fernand had also been in love with Edmond's fiancée, Mercedes, since childhood, but Mercedes loved Edmond and never looked at him in that way. Because of this, Fernand was also very jealous of Edmond, and now Edmond had money too. Seeing this, Fernand's jealousy turned into hatred. Fernand now meets Danglars, the man who wanted to become captain. Both of them hated Edmond. They both expressed their hatred during their conversation, and Fernand says that if he had his way, he would kill Edmond so that he could get Mercedes. The other man also says that he wants to kill Edmond and take the captain's seat. Both of them think that together they can achieve their goals. Then, Fernand remembers that he saw Edmond receiving a letter from Napoleon. This was the opportunity he had been waiting for. He decided to use this letter to ruin Edmond's life. The next day should have been the happiest day of Edmond's life as he was about to get married. But suddenly the police arrive, and Edmond is arrested on charges of treason. He tells everyone he didn't do anything, but his words are ignored, and he is dragged to the chief magistrate. The chief magistrate speaks with him, believing Edmond to be a simple sailor with no understanding of politics. Edmond answers every question he asks, and he also gives him the letter he brought from Napoleon, assuring him that no one had read it yet. Upon receiving the letter, the chief magistrate tells him he is innocent and can leave. "But before you go, please tell me who Napoleon asked you to deliver this letter to." Edmond reveals the name. The chief magistrate is stunned, as the name Edmond gave was none other than the chief magistrate's own father, a supporter of Napoleon. If the world were to discover that the magistrate's father was an enemy of the country, the chief magistrate's career and reputation would be ruined. To save himself, the chief magistrate burns the letter, and since only Edmond knew the truth, he also considers disposing of him. He lies to Edmond, saying, "You've suffered a lot because of me. You had to come all the way here. Your wedding was delayed, and now I want to escort you to your wedding with dignity. That's why my carriage is waiting for you outside." Edmond, overjoyed, gets into his carriage, but suddenly, the carriage is locked from the outside, and Edmond realizes he has been deceived. The carriage is taken not to Edmond's home, but to a port, and from there, Edmond is taken to a terrifying prison, a prison built on an island in the middle of the ocean, from which no one can return. Even if someone managed to escape from this prison, built in the middle of the ocean, they would never be able to survive the vast expanse of water surrounding it. They would die in the water. The warden was also a very cruel man. He would brutally beat Edmond and put him in a dark, pitch-black cell. Edmond would scream that he was innocent, but no one would listen. Every year, on the anniversary of his imprisonment, the warden would come and flog him. This was the warden's hobby, and it was the way Edmond would know that a year had passed. Years passed. Edmond's hopes began to fade. He had even stopped believing in God. One day, he even considered suicide. But just when he was about to give up, he heard a crunching sound from beneath the ground. Suddenly, the ground in his cell cracked, and a man emerged. It was another prisoner, a very old man. This man's name was Faria. Faria had been digging a tunnel for the past 5 years to escape, but he accidentally dug in the wrong direction, ending up in Edmond's cell. But this mistake proved beneficial for both of them. Edmond found a friend here after so many years, and Faria found a student. Faria was also a very good swordsman and knew a lot about the world and politics. He taught all of this to Edmond. Together, they dug a tunnel to escape. Edmond now mostly lived in Faria's cell, going through that tunnel. He only returned to his cell when it was time for the jailer to serve food or collect waste. They spent most of their time digging tunnels, putting the soil they'd excavated into their waste baskets to avoid suspicion. Whenever they were tired, Faria taught Edmond math, science, economics, and philosophy. Within a few days, he had taught him how to read and write fluently, and he even taught him swordsmanship so well that he became a skilled warrior. After about a year, the simple sailor had become a genius and a warrior. They discussed why Edmond was in prison. With Faria's help, Edmond understood who had betrayed him. He realized that the chief magistrate wanted his silence, Fernand wanted his fiancée, and Danglars wanted his career. All three conspired together and framed innocent Edmond. Today was the first time Edmond experienced a new feeling. A fire of revenge had ignited within him. He, too, was determined to escape from this prison. One day, as they were digging a tunnel and reached the end, the ground suddenly collapsed and all the stones fell on old Faria, burying him. As Faria was about to die with his last breaths, he gave Edmond a map to a treasure. He told him that the Spada family had a vast treasure hidden on an island called Monte Cristo. He extracted a promise from Edmond that he would use this wealth only for good, not evil. Edmond, a man of good character, agreed to this promise. As soon as the guards learned of Faria's death, they placed his body inside a sack and tied it up. While the guards went to call the warden, Edmond used his brain and devised a way to escape. He would take Faria's dead body out of the sack and keep it in his cell. He lays down in the sack. When the guards returned, they didn't suspect anything. Edmond thought they were going to bury him in the mud, where he could jump out. But later, he learned that prisoners in this prison weren't buried underground, but were thrown into the sea. They tied a heavy stone to him and threw him into the sea from a height. Edmond fell into the cold water. He quickly cut the bag with his knife and freed himself from the stone. Quickly saving himself, he swam to the surface, caught his breath in time, and thus saved his life. The warden, who had been watching all this from above, wanted to catch Edmond again, but before he could do anything or call the guards, Edmond dragged the warden underwater and drowned him. This was his first revenge against the man who had tormented him in that prison for 13 years. Swimming, Edmond reached the shore. There he meets some smugglers and robbers. Their leader was about to kill one of his own comrades on charges of treason. But the leader was a good man. He didn't feel like killing his comrade. He was torn between killing him or not. Seeing Edmond, he tells him, "If you want to stay alive, you'll have to fight this man." Here, the victor survives. A fight ensues between Edmond and the man, Jacopo. Edmond, who had learned excellent swordsmanship from Faria, quickly defeats the other man but doesn't kill him. Instead, he tells their leader, "You should keep him in your group along with me, because his swordsmanship has shown me that he can be of great use to you." Thus, Edmond saves Jacopo's life and his own. Now, because Edmond saved Jacopo's life, Jacopo vows to remain loyal to Edmond for life. After living and working with smugglers for some time, Edmond left the group and went with Jacopo to the island of Monte Cristo. There, according to Faria's map, they found the treasure they were looking for underwater, inside a secret cave. There were so many things, so many that they hadn't even imagined. There were huge gold chests, all filled with nothing but gold and diamonds. After finding this treasure, Edmond had become the richest man in the world. The treasure was so vast that it was impossible to transport it all on a ship at once. But even with this one chest, he had become the richest man in the world. He returned with all his treasure to his hometown, and since he had returned after 13 years, no one recognized him. He also learned that he was rumored to have been executed and that his father had even committed suicide due to grief over his betrayal and execution. After the news of his death, Mercedes, his fiancée, married his friend, Fernand. And so no one remembered Edmond anymore. Everyone had moved on with their lives, including the chief magistrate who had framed Edmond. He too had been promoted as a reward for catching a traitor and had moved to Paris. Learning of all this, Edmond carefully plots his return using his wealth. He completely transforms himself, changing his name to the Count of Monte Cristo. He buys the most magnificent palace in Paris, the most luxurious cars, and throws lavish parties to impress the wealthy and quickly become one of the elite. He had changed so much that even the old people couldn't recognize him. He also possessed a vast amount of knowledge, which is why he was present at major political meetings, even though he had no interest in them. His plan was simple. He wanted to eliminate 3 of his enemies. One was his friend Fernand, the other was the chief magistrate, and the third was Danglars, the assistant captain who had become rich. To destroy these 3, he discovered their weaknesses. First, he targeted Danglars. He had now become a banker, but he was still greedy. Here, the Count gave him false information, causing him significant losses and slowly becoming impoverished. Then came the turn of the chief magistrate, who had now become the chief prosecutor. The Count befriended him and began visiting his home. One day, during a conversation, he trapped the man and made him confess that he had sent an innocent man to jail to save his father. Then, to avoid being implicated in his father's betrayal, he had his father killed also through Fernand, who was a friend of Edmond. Hearing this, the chief is deeply shocked and doesn't understand how the Count knows this. He tells him, "You know all these things, but you'll never be able to prove them, nor will you ever be able to implicate me and Fernand." The Count says, "I don't know about Fernand, but you're definitely trapped. I had done all this very carefully. The police, already standing outside, had heard everything, and now the chief was arrested. Now the chief was about to face the same fate as he had done to Edmond. Now it was Fernand's turn. Fernand had also become a wealthy man. He was also married to Mercedes, and they had a son, Albert. Our hero, Edmond, kidnaps Albert and then pretends to rescue him himself so he can get closer to Fernand's family. That day, Albert's birthday party was held, where the Count had now become a central figure. He even gave a speech. No one suspected this man could be Edmond. But Mercedes was watching him closely. She noticed the Count playing with his hair. It was the distinctive way Edmond used to touch his hair. This shocked her. She realized that the Count of Monte Cristo was none other than Edmond. She tried to talk to him, but Edmond behaved strangely, believing that Mercedes had also deceived him. He denied that he was Edmond. By making such remarks, he angered Mercedes, sending her away, and then attacked Fernand's business. He knew that Fernand was still a greedy man. Edmond now orders a portion of his treasure shipped from the island to Paris and deliberately informs Fernand. Fernand immediately decides to steal the money, and as he goes to steal it, Edmond frames him. Fernand is already accused of theft. Now, by obtaining the testimony of the chief, he also implicates Fernand in the murder of the chief's father. Fernand is sentenced to death, and to save himself, Fernand flees to another city, leaving his family behind. Meanwhile, Mercedes arrives at Edmond's house and, looking him straight in the eye, says, "I know who you are. You are Edmond." She tries to explain to Edmond why she married Fernand after hearing of his death. She explains, "When the news of your death came, I was pregnant with your child, and to avoid public scrutiny, I needed to give the child a father's name. That's why, forced to do so, I married Fernand that very week." Hearing this, Edmond is shocked to discover that he had a son. Albert wasn't Fernand's son, but Edmond's, and he is saddened to learn this, as he had repeatedly tried to harm his own son in his quest for revenge. The treasure chest is shown as Fernand arrives at the same secret place where Edmond found the treasure. Fernand already knew about this place, and he, too, had become wealthy because of this treasure, but when he opened the chests, they were empty. Edmond had already taken everything away. The chests contained only a chess piece, and he was astonished to see this piece. It was a memento of his and Edmond's childhood. Seeing this, Fernand understood the whole story. The Count of Monte Cristo was none other than Edmond, and that the treasure here had made him the richest man in the city. He also realized that he wasn't dead and gradually realized that Edmond had framed him. Before he could go and take revenge on his friend, Edmond himself arrived. Fernand, who was furious at the time, took up his sword, unaware that Edmond had also learned to wield a sword. A fierce fight ensued between the two, and Albert arrived during the fight. He considered Fernand his father and wanted to save him. So he too began fighting against Edmond, and just in time, Mercedes arrived. Mercedes told Albert to stop. "The man you're killing was none other than your father. Yes, your father. It's not Fernand, but Edmond, who is your father." Hearing this, both Albert and Fernand are devastated. This is when Fernand realizes that he has lost not just his wealth and honor, but everything. He's lost his money, he's lost his wife, and the son he so lovingly raised is not his either. Everything he once took from Edmond has fallen back into Edmond's lap. In his further hatred, he draws his gun to kill Edmond, but Mercedes comes in just in time to save Edmond, and the bullet grazes Mercedes' shoulder. His gun only had one bullet, and he can't fire the second bullet at Edmond. But seeing Mercedes hurt, Edmond becomes even more enraged. He draws his sword and with a single blow ends Fernand's life. After which, in the post-credits scene of the story, we are shown that Mercedes' life was saved. Finally, Edmond had defeated his enemies, and now he had found justice in his life. Here, he remembers Faria's words that those who believe in him will definitely get justice, and he too had received justice. He decided to use all the wealth he had at that time for the welfare of humanity, as he had promised Faria to do so. Now, he had his family, money, and his own business. Finally, the story ends with his family being shown happy.